Hello everyone and welcome to today's NRCA webinar. Today's webinar and all November webinars are sponsored by EagleView. My name is Brad Martz. I work in the education department here at NRCA, and our presenter today is Chris Baughman, and he'll be sharing how to keep up with change as it relates to roofing estimates. Chris is the Regional Director for Contractor Sales for EagleView, which provides high-resolution aerial imagery, roof and wall measurements, and property data to the construction and insurance industries. Chris brings his experience as a former contractor to EagleView, where he has been for the past 7 years. Just a couple housekeeping details before we turn it over to Chris. If you have questions for Chris during today's presentation, you can type them into the chat box on your control panel. If you prefer not to type your question in and actually speak and verbalize your question, just let me know and we can unmute you during our Q&A time, which we'll have at the conclusion of Chris's presentation. Also, as always, today's webinar is being recorded. You'll receive an email by early next week with a link to that recording. And you also receive a PDF of this presentation. All right, Chris, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and thanks, guys, for your time and wanting to learn a little bit more about what we're doing, and more importantly, about what the industry is kind of doing and evolving towards as far as using technology in their business. So I'm just going to get started a little bit and just tell you just a little bit about EagleView, and then I'm just going to kind of go into what I think is going on in the roofing industry as it relates to technology. I'm going to cover both sides of the fence. I know some of you guys on the phone are commercial, some of you are residential. So if I start talking about something that's a little bit more off your focus, still stay online because I'm going to go back to either or, whether it's commercial or residential, as this progresses. So just a little bit about EagleView. So over the past, since 2001, EagleView and pictometry imagery has really changed the way the roofing industry and the commercial space and insurance and government really operates by providing the most high-resolution aerial imagery available in the United States. So we're a privately held company. We've got proprietary data on 99% of the homes and commercial spaces throughout the country in U.S. and Canada. Recently gone over to Europe. So we've got millions of images, spanning out that area, and we're, using those images and turning around into data to save roofing contractors time and money while reducing their exposure to risk out there. So EagleView, provides access to its orthogonal imagery and its oblique imagery, 3D models and measurements through the reports on our proprietary image viewing platforms. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we derive this information first. As you see on the picture here in front of you, there's a Cessna plane flying over. A lot of people think that, we pull this from satellite images or other sources, and the majority of our data comes from low-level flights from our airplanes. And that really helps us build our secret sauce on how we do what we do. Differentiating us from anyone out there using a satellite image, delivering the high resolution oblique imagery and 3D measurement reports. So we've got 660,000 square miles flown in June of 2017. That's a huge number of photos taken across the country. That alone was 40% of the U.S. population. So if you look at what we've done from the report side, over 3 million reports delivered to customers, around the country, and we use those images to build these 3D models for the technology that drives your roof reports and aerial roof measurement reports or aerial takeoffs, however you use it. And we use a system called photogrammetry, and we go down and break those roofs down in a full 3D model, and then we build the roof so it basically incorporates the pitch, so we know that's the correct pitch on there. And that's really how we get as accurate as we get on there, these reports. the numbers are really what says a lot. So we've got 98% of the country covered in Canada as well, 115 planes, 130 domestic patents, and we've just grown so much over. I'll tell you my story here in a little bit. But 526 employees, you know, we're doing 25,000 of these roof reports a day. And if you guys know what a terabyte is, I mean, I only equate it to when I was in college and I used like one of those big terabyte hard drives to save like millions of songs that I would illegally download. You know, I know this is being recorded too. So, but all those are gone. But we have 2,362 terabytes of imagery storage. That's a ton. Our server rooms throughout the country are housing all these images, and we're really trying to use all those to basically build a model of every home in the United States and Canada and commercial property. So we're really trying to make that a reality for you guys out in the field, make you more efficient and faster out in the field and safer too. Little bit about me. I started in this business in 2009. I left for a few years, and I started roofing locally where I live in Indianapolis, and then kind of had the new opportunity to come back in and run a different part of the sales organization for EagleView. So I came back in and jumped into this, and so since then I've kind of taken a different role as the Western Area Director, but I'm very knowledgeable as far as technology space and you know, and just the roofing industry in general. So if you guys don't hear anything that I'm talking about today that applies to your business, I hope it does. But if there's something that pops up and you say, you know, this really, you know, wasn't something that, you know, it's going to change my temperature on what I'm doing now, but, you know, here's what I'm looking for, shoot me an email after this. I'm going to have my email up, and you're more than welcome to just shoot me an email and say, hey, Chris, do you know anybody that does X, Y, or Z? And I'll be happy to connect you with someone who I feel like is a strong partner in the industry, and doesn't even have to be partnered with EagleView, but just is doing the right thing and providing really good technology to help you guys move faster. So, you know, just some of the technology advancements that's happening right now. You know, the tech. This is kind of the workflow I'm going to run through. But you know, the technology enhancements are improving workflow, increasing business opportunities, and in reducing exposure to risk. And so you guys are all business owners, and you understand the risk portion of this business is super high. And we try to keep all of our people as safe as possible all the time. So that's one thing I really want you to focus on, the increased business opportunities. I would like you to start thinking more of what is your time worth, and kind of put in that perspective of being busy or being efficient. And so that goes back into the improving workflow. Is if I can take my workflow and streamline it to the point where I can scale to the next level, and everybody has a really cool story about where their company, you know, started and where they're at now. And a lot of people want to take that next step, and I think technology helps you take that next step without adding a lot of bodies at it, where it kind of eliminates your ability to do that due to the cost of doing business. And so with the right resources, contractors can see all three of these advantages. So I'm going to kind of walk through, and I'm going to walk through more on the residential side of it. So if you're a commercial contractor, please just kind of throw this into your workflow a little bit. So normal current workflow right now is you request an estimate. This is a customer requesting an estimate. You schedule time to visit the property. You get out of the truck. You throw your ladder on the roof. You snap the tape, take some photos, go back down to your truck, maybe calculate the materials by your hand measurements, write up a proposal for the customer, or you have to go back to your office and draw up that proposal so you can give that customer a price. The things that come in between that is that you've probably been in business a while, or if you haven't been in business a while, you're trying to get more business. So if you're going to schedule a follow-up with that customer, you might be maybe 2 weeks out before you can go back and see them. How you buy is very similar to how your customers buy. If they're ready to buy a roof today, or if they're in the market to buy a roof, and you go back out 2 weeks, that's just kind of pulling yourself from that pool to get that roof job sold under your business. So it's very similar to a car lot. When a lot of you folks have been deciding to buy a vehicle, the statistics are if you're ready to buy a car, you will, as soon as you step foot on a car lot, within 72 hours, your probability of buying a vehicle is over 75%. So think about that. When you walk into a car lot and somebody says, well, I'll be back in a day or two, and I'll let you know what our decision is. The B-backs, 90% of the time, B-backs never even come back to the lot. So from a sales perspective, you look at that from your business and say, how many of those customers did I say I'll be back to their property, and then 2 weeks later I come back and they've already made their decision, and maybe the roof's already done. So taking that portion of it, the time, that's really what I want to get really the most out of this is you guys, your time is so valuable, whether it's from measuring to estimating to actually performing the re-roof or the tear off of the commercial property. All these things play factors. Weather. You can't get on roofs when it's pouring down rain. It's just not safe. So think about those when you're thinking about these new workflows. The human error portion of it is, maybe the salesman is in a hurry and the handwritten measurement that he took was incorrect. He missed something. He missed a bump out. He missed a gable. He missed a dormer. All these things add up in little pieces. I always compare it to like if there's a 5-gallon bucket full of water and it's your profit, and you see all these little holes at the side of it and water's just shooting out of it. It's just profit flying from your bucket from the start of the year to the end of the year. And we want you to have as much profit in that bucket at the end of the year, where you're just patching those holes using some technology to help you do that.
Hey,
so,
Chris.
Sure.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick, sorry. I think the far right of your screen is cut off a little bit. We see like some aerial imagery. Would you be able to jump out of presentation mode and then jump back in, see if that fixes it? Actually, whatever you just did something.
Yeah, I had the go to meeting thing in front of there. Is that good now?
Yeah, if you keep that, it's not supposed to show your control panel, so that's a go to webinar glitch. But yeah, we can see most of your screen as it is right now, so that's better. Thank you.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, if there's anything else, let me know on that. So this is the current workflow of most contractors not using technology. Okay, so the next slide here. So this is kind of the new technology improved workflow. And while I'm saying this can apply to both commercial or residential contractors. When a customer calls you to come out to their property and request an estimate, utilize the aerial measurement or whatever tool you're using to review the property with imagery. Plug those numbers into measurements from the imagery to calculate the materials you're going to need on the job, and build that proposal long before you get to the property. Because if you can utilize the time that you have preparing for that estimate, and it just plugs in automatically to whatever, maybe you're using a CRM or estimation software like Xactimate, or there's a couple CRM programs out there, and you can punch your numbers into and be prepared going into that meeting. That time that you'll save is going to also save the customer. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I get home from work, I have about 5 minutes before I'm attacked by kids and responsibilities that come in. And if you want to spend an hour with me to just go up there and measure the roof but not able to present me a price, and then you have to come back out and do another hour, people just don't have a lot of time anymore. And people like to buy things, they like to educate themselves on their own, and you give them the tools to do that. But they like to buy based on their time. If you have a proposal in front of them, it's in line with standards of what they've found in their research, and then you give them everything that they want on that roof that fits in your margins, that's a win. You're being efficient with your time and with your customer's time. So that's another thing to think about as well. So like I said, save time with aerial measurements. You can get the estimate to the customer the same day you're running the lead. So if you can be efficient with your time, you can also be efficient with the customer's time. The human error portion, the aerial imagery is so accurate. You know, we're within 2 to 3 inches per pixel of imagery. If you think back to like those days when you had the tube TV where you could actually see the pixels on the screen, those pixels equal something to us. So it's within 2 to 3 inches for each pixel that we see. So we grab those on super high resolution screens. We get close to the gutter. We pull that image. We draw the report and shoot it out to you. All those images that we take, by the way, that you saw that we have, like the petabytes and terabytes of data, all those are taken over, you know, since 2001 to 2017. So any changes to the property are typically caught. But it's always important when you're using any tool, even if it's not EagleView, you go out there and inspect that property, make sure it's current, make sure it's the correct house. There are times where, you know, things do happen, and then also, you know, let's say there was an addition put on the house, and you're trying to just use the aerial imagery and aerial measurements to just do your bids. Just make sure that addition was caught on there, so you don't end up quoting a project or signing a contract that you have to fulfill and it's, you know, 10 squares light. So just take those things into consideration. My experience is, you know, has been, you know, it's less than 1 in 1,000 when that thing happens. But just for your own sake, just take that in consideration. So increased business opportunities. So when we talk about, you know, how you can use your time that you spent measuring, you can also go door knock. You can go prospect more with commercial clients. You can use the time that let's say if you're doing a 6 million square foot or 600,000 square foot commercial building. If you take the time that you would have took to measure that and then go spend that time with the project manager or with the homeowner, for that instance, if it's a roof, if you take the time, you'll put that into the bucket, and you guys can go out and run more leads. You can do more with your time. If you could run 2 extra leads a day, what would that do to your business over a year? You know, if you run 3 leads a day, you could do 2 more by the time you save from measuring or going back out to an appointment that you didn't have the measurements prior to. You know, what does that do for your business? If you're looking to take that next step from, you know, $1 million to $3 million, or if you're looking to go from 500,000 to 1.5 million next year, you got big goals. You know, that's where you can kind of look at that and start building your business out and saying, this is the process that we're going to take. We're going to use aerial imagery to kind of help us take that next step. So the other part is exposure to risk. So a lot of the times when you're having someone measure the roof, they're not necessarily the most qualified person to be on the roof all the time. You know, you're sending a salesman up there who's probably really good at selling something, but he's not really good at measuring a roof. So it takes him a little bit longer. Maybe he's not as agile moving around on a roof, and you know, you're reducing the exposure to a fall. When we've heard of tons of our customers having issues with falls and you know, paying the workman's comp on those, and hopefully it's nothing more than that. But you know, this is a portion where I think, you know, I've been doing this since 2009, and I couldn't imagine like how many lives Uber saved by having a button you can push to pick somebody up from a bar. And I almost think that the same way for us. Like, you know, you get somebody up on a roof for 5 minutes instead of 45 minutes. I mean, I don't know how we quantify that, but how many lives would that save, or how many injuries would that have prevented from not having a salesman up there or an estimator up there for, you know, a long period of time? So that's one of my thoughts on there. So just, you know, look at that from a risk standpoint as well. So, you know, with aerial imagery, you know, you save time bidding on jobs, create more accurate material orders, visit more customers, and reduce time on the job. When you're going out there and you're building and you're bidding on a job based on, you know, I've been doing it for 30 years. I know that roof's 30 squares, but it's really, let's say it's really 34 squares. And you bid on the job and you get it, and you're 4 squares light, and you end up eating the 4 squares, and it's just kind of the cost of doing business at that point. But when I look at that, I mean, if that's $300 a square, you just lost out on $1,200. Or, you know, if you were going to sell the roof anyways, you know, that's $1,200 out of your pocket. Or you'll have the times where you got 5 squares left in the driveway, and the homeowner comes out and they're like, well, you know, I'd love, you know, to get a credit back on the materials that are left over. And you say, oh no, We always order extra on the job. Well, think about how many jobs you might have lost by being over on those bids when you could have been right in your profit margin, right in your wheelhouse, and you make sure that you get those jobs at a profitable margin. So that's one of the things I like to think about. So one of the things on I believe in is telling your story. So how you guys tell your story to your customer is really important. So my story, when I started in this business in the tech space in roofing, it really wasn't very techy. It was in 2009 where I got put into a startup that was eventually acquired by Pictometry and EagleView, but I was asking where my office was, and they pointed at a janitor's closet, and they said, it's in there. We put a phone in there for you. Go sell. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I just locked myself in that room, and I focused for the first 6 months on just defining a process and having everything done. And I just built a really good system for me to go out and get business. And since then, I mean, the whole industry's grown so much, but now we're a huge, I would consider a huge company, and we've got a lot of different products, a lot of different services. We're helping people out. But I started in a janitor's closet, and the story is the same for a lot of you guys. And the reason why I'm telling you this is that time that you're able to spend with the homeowner to tell them why, or a commercial customer to tell them why to pick you. That's the time to tell your story. And if we can give that time back to you so you're not rushing to the next appointment, so you can actually share why you are where you are as a company and the values you represent, that's a really important piece that you can use to close more business, because people want to feel like they're taken care of. People want to feel like your company is the only company that could do this. And without the time for you guys to go through that, it's really difficult to do that. If you're just another number, it's a difficult time to do that. So how can this help your business? So drive efficiencies down, 75% reduction in the measurements, the time of measurements in the field. If you look at what your estimator would make in a year, and then you take that and put it in an hourly rate, and you can put him at more appointments and less time measuring, where it's a non-revenue generating, experience. That's where you guys can really use that time reduction. The other piece is reduce the time in estimating and calculating materials. If you have everything done from the beginning, you're working off the same boilerplate that you'll use to develop those materials as well. Improve accuracy. So if you didn't waste 1 square or on a job, what would per job you've done all year long, what would that do for your company's bottom line? That's an extra truck, that's an extra employee, that's an extra marketing person. So start, think that way as you guys go into 2018 and start to plan and budget. Start to think about those things, like what you guys could do if you got a little bit more efficiency in these. And I know a lot of you folks are really efficient in what you do, and I know this doesn't apply to everybody, but these are all just suggestions that we're making. The other piece is grow your revenue. You get the increased number of sales and visits. Your revenue grows. You're not spending as much time on the roof. And I keep saying time because I think it's the most important piece of this. You get more sales call visits, you're going to close more business. If your process doesn't change and you're going through and you're seeing less appointments, you're going to close less sales. If you change your process and you see more people and you spend more time with the customer, actually learning what their needs are, then you close more business. It's very in my opinion, it's a good formula. So as we kind of go into this, before we get too far into it, wanted to see if there's any questions before I get into kind of the products that EagleView offers. I mean, the pieces that I threw out there before are really suggestions on what I feel like the industry is going and where you can use technology to be more efficient. So before I get into any kind of the products or services that we offer, are there any questions that I can answer for you guys out there?
Thanks, Chris. At this time, we don't have any questions that have come in, but that's a great reminder. Just so everyone knows, you do have the opportunity to ask Chris questions. So feel free to type those into the chat box there on your control panel, and we'll check back soon, Chris. And also, I think you might want to, it's doing something goofy with your control panel. So once you get back into the presentation, you might want to minimize it again.
I got it. All right, there it is. So the EagleView premium reports, some of you might have seen them. We take off the roof or siding of any residential product, and I'm going to get to commercial in a minute as well. But it's basically going to break down the entire project for you in a really clear, concise way, where we take the aerial images that we have, and then we break it down by pitch, ridge, valley starter, step flashing, hip eve, rig, trip edge, parapet height, flashing, everything that we can do to give you the most ammo on that job to bid it immediately and accurately. So you'll see that there's a waste calculation page. It goes up to 22%. We'll also break everything down by pitches. So let's say 25% of the roof is, or let's on this report right here, 84% of this roof is an 812, but there's also 7 different pitches on this roof that we have to be identified, because you guys are putting your labor rates. You need to know those as well. So this is kind of the last page of the report that you kind of live by, but it's going to give you a lot of data, and you don't have to print off every page that we give, but it's going to give you a ton of data that you can go out and you can use that to measure the roof and siding and put a number to it, so you can put an estimate together for that customer. The other thing is with insurance claims. I don't know how many of you deal with insurance companies, but we work with over 95% of the top insurance carriers and carriers, nationwide and in Canada. So using the data that we have, you can send a report over an insurance company. There's no question on the validity of the reports, because, like I said, the majority of these insurance companies have tested us with a ton of their resources, and they've gone and made sure that this is an accurate report. It's a timely report. They trust it, and it's a good way for an adjuster and a contractor to get along. So it's definitely something to think about. We also integrate with, I don't know why it keeps going back to commercial reports. We also integrate with Xactimate and a few of the other major insurance carrier softwares. So if you're using any of those, we're fully integrated with them, and we can populate those into an Xactimate sketch, so you can have a full detailed estimate, and it just pre-populates right in with a macro, or if you want to build it individually by the claim. So this is our commercial report. So the commercial report is really nice, and I know commercial is a little bit more in depth as far as what you need to get out of it. But when you have a 3D diagram, you have the length diagrams for everything on there. We'll also take from there the parapet height, and we'll throw suggestions in there for parapet heights, and we'll identify the areas that the parapet height can't be identified. So if it's variable, it'll be listed on the report. So if it goes from 4 feet to 2 feet, we'll note that, and you'll just need to site verify those. But other than your core measurements, we'll also identify all of the penetrations on that job as well. So skylights, AC vents, anything over 6 inches, we're going to draw it and just let you know that it's out there. So you can kind of look at that and start to think about what all you have to include on there as far as penetrations for your materials that you'll have to order on that job. So all those penetrations will be listed out where it says total penetrations, 68 total penetrations perimeter, 112 or 1,120 feet. All the area, 1,460 square feet of penetrations, Total roof area, less penetration, 67,265 square feet. So, or square feet, yeah. So that's where you're going to be able to get a lot of information from our reports. And we also integrate with CAD softwares, and we provide it back in a DXF file, so you can drop our report into that CAD software, so you can complete your diagram, build your roof out there for your system. So that's definitely something to think about there. So we also have an imagery side where we have imagery for commercial. So accurately search locations quickly, view properties from the top down, as well as from 40 to 45 degree oblique angles, so you can measure distance, height, and oblique imagery on the oblique imagery. I'll show you that here once we go through the rest of these slides as well. Our quick squares report. If any of you are in the residential business, these quick squares reports are back to you typically within under 30 minutes. Those reports give you the total area and then a pitch value associated with that. So it'll give you the predominant pitch, and then you can say, all right, it's a 26 square roof. I bid at $350 a square, all in with all my underlayment materials, pipe boots, all that included, less any skylights or specialty items on the roof. We can come up with an estimate pretty quickly. So there's other people that are using these quick square reports at home shows, and they'll use the quick square report to give the customer a bid while they're at the home show and try to finance them or set expectations on a price. So when they go out to give them a final quote, they already know what the price is, and so they've been conditioned. So that's probably a better chance of closing that job, because they actually know what the price is going to be. Or if they say, yeah, let's get it done right now. Let's pick out our material. You've got all the options there at the booth, and then you can sell them a job right there if you have financing or if they want to pay cash. So that's just different ways how people are using the technology out there. So it's pretty cool to see how different companies are doing it. You can throw your company logo on there, make it look more identifiable to your company, give you some exposure. That's a good way to do it. So on a retail side, this is a lot of the processes that the contractors use to bid for retail and residential roofing. So they'll go through and they'll order the quick squares report. They'll get the quick squares report at 26 squares. And then once they sell the job and they have to build it, they'll upgrade to the premium report that'll have all the information on it, and they just pay the difference between the quick square cost and the premium report. So you're not paying double the cost or for two reports. We just take the difference out of the quick square or out of the premium from the quick square. So if it's, let's say if your price for a premium report's $25 for this project right here, and you pay $18, you're only going to pay the difference, $7 for that upgrade on the report. So then a sold project. So you're more efficient, you're more scalable, and you're able to put that bid together quicker. Your material orders go to your distributor. They deliver the project. You don't have five squares to take back and load up the truck and take you off of a different job. And the other part of it is when you're building the project, you're not 5 or 6 bundles short and have to run to Home Depot or Lowe's on a Saturday when your distributor's closed. They don't carry the same shingle color, so you got to push that job off until the following Monday when you can complete it. So that's a bad customer experience. So we just want all of your customer experiences to be good ones, and we want to give you the tools to be successful out there and be safe. Excuse me. So a lot of these things, it's a process. We want to help you. We want to help you guys grow. All these things are different for every company. We want you to ask us questions. My information's right here. Like I said, and I appreciate you guys participating today. Shoot me an email with your contact info, and I'll send you back a promo code for a free report just for participating. And then my cell number's there. Give me a call anytime, and I'm pretty available. We're also going to be at the International Roofing Expo this year. booth 433. If you guys are going to be in New Orleans, it's New Orleans, so it's probably going to be a good time. So check us out. We're also on social media, EagleView, Facebook, Twitter, all over the place. So we try to stay connected. We've also got some really cool stuff coming. So if you don't have an account with us yet, or you're not following us on social media, create an account. Just opt in for the email list, and then you'll get some periodic some emails from us as the updates come out. So, like I said, I was going to show everybody some imagery of what we're doing on the commercial side, where you can use our images. I'm an Indianapolis guy, so I got to use Lucas Oil, except for the Colts stink this year. So you can get really granular on your projects, zooming down, and I can look and see all different years of when that stadium's going. I mean, you see people walking around. Like, our images are not what you would see on a Google or any other place. You're able to physically see that's AC. You can count these vents. You can use these tools to measure the distance here, so you can see, okay, I got 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, I'm going to have XYZ of flashing that goes around there. And so, as you guys looking at your business, think about how many projects you work on where having imagery like this would be beneficial to your business. So if I look here, I can pull up, you see this is in 2017. I can pull up several years where I could go back to 2004 and see what this project looked like before. Or I can go and see, yeah, this is a parking lot. That whole place is a parking lot before that even existed. So that's where you guys can use all this data that we have to make you more efficient out in the field, or to see, all right, so I have 15 roofs over here. That roof looks good. This roof looks like it needs to be replaced, and you can start using that to help generate some business for you. So use this as an asset for your company, and so we want to help you guys out as much as possible, deliver technology into your organization. So I'm going to put my contact information back up there again, and feel free to contact me, like I said, and anything I can do to help you out, I would love to chat with your company, your ownership, just figure out what you guys need as a company. If it's not something we can't help out with, I'd love to help you, get into a company that could help you. So let me fly through here. So any questions? I'm going to open it up to questions. I don't know if there's any out there, but
there are actually, Chris. Thank you. Thanks for sharing all that with us today. We do have some questions that have come in. First question is, can you import your images and diagrams into a CRM? And if so, could you give examples?
Yes, you can. So you can, right now we have integrations with a few different CRMs. And so what you would do is, most of them, like there's AccuLinks, Job Nimbus, and Cutter Crow, a few other ones out there, Contractors Cloud, and you can take those reports, drop them in, and then it would generate your estimate based on the XML data that we provide back. The XML data is like just kind of point dot references, so they've got the API built so they can consume that data, and then so you can get your information into those CRMs. So absolutely we can.
All right, thanks, Chris. Next question is, with residential roofing, is there a way to filter out trees and other objects?
So one of the great parts about what we do is we fly the majority of our flights in the spring and the fall where it's leaf off. Really, an image to us where it's covered, like that's probably why you see when I was showing you a picture of Luke's soil, it was in kind of the dreary part of when Indiana doesn't have any sun and there's clouds over the top. But we do that for a reason, because if there's leaves on the trees, it's harder for us to see the entire project. So we use that data to pull out the best measurement information we can. If there's leaves on the trees, we just can't see it. So we definitely try to fly leaf off so we don't have to deal with trees. but it does come up from time to time.
All right, thanks, Chris. Those are all the questions we have up to right now. I'll keep my eyes peeled here as I make a few closing comments. If you still have a question, we still have time, so feel free to enter it still. Obviously, Chris, thanks again to you for your presentation today, and also to all of you who joined us, took time out of your days to join our webinar. We would ask that you fill out a brief survey that we'll launch at the conclusion of this webinar once we close. It's just 4 questions. It'll take you about 30-45 seconds. And we do value your feedback, so please fill that out. As I mentioned earlier, you'll receive a link to this recording by early next week, so feel free to share with your colleagues. And also, our December webinars will be posted soon, so keep your eyes peeled on our NRCA website. You can register for webinars at nrca.net/webinar. At that site, you can also find an archive of all of our past NRCA webinars. As NRCA members, you can access all of those for free. It looks like that's all the questions we have. So thanks again, everyone, and we hope you have a great day.
Thanks, guys.